Hello, and welcome to Skills to Pay the Bills. With today's segment of Resources Unplugged, we'll dig into how important it is for businesses to tell their story and how to prepare your story for an audience of investors and other financial partners. We're going to talk about pitch events and demo days and their differences. You see, securities regulations play a big role between the two. I am your host, Lorette Farris, co-founder of the Internet Back Office Systems and Services, or IBOSS, an ecosystem developed to provide services and resources to companies raising capital. My co-host today is Dr. Ray Charles, founder and CEO of the KIPP Group, where they keep investing in people. Today, Dr. Ray and I are going to discuss how to navigate actually pitching your business opportunity to potential investors versus practicing pitching your business opportunity compliantly within the bounds of the new capital market. We are going to unplug how Pitch Perfect was designed to help companies perfect their pitching techniques to a wide audience while staying in compliance with all securities regulations. I am honored to have Dr. Ray as my co-host today, as I will rely on him to keep the discussion focused on how Pitch Perfect keeps investing in people. Welcome, Dr. Ray.
Welcome. I am honored to be on the show with you.
Thank you.
You know, when I think of Pitch Perfect, I think of the analogy of a baseball player throwing a perfect pitch. Mm-hmm. Now, the most important part of that perfect pitch is the release of that ball. It sort of reminds me when I speak to my clients about their speeches, to have a perfect speech. The most important part of that speech is the first 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. Where the first 7 seconds, they're deciding whether or not they like you. The next 23 seconds, they're deciding whether or not they want to hear you. So I am thrilled on this topic of Pitch Perfect. Lorette, when you shared in your introduction on pitch events mm-hmm. and demo events, when I think of a trade show, mm-hmm. I see companies, they demonstrating their products and they are pitching their products mm-hmm. at the same time. Now, in your introduction, you mentioned that there is a difference. Is there a difference between pitching and demonstrating the event?
Yes. And the main difference really has to do with security regulations. And many companies, and I'm going to venture to guess, the event planners may not know some of the nuances of that. So what happens when you say pitch, the general industry thinks of that as companies going on some platform to discuss their company, but more importantly, the money they're trying to raise, because it's thought of pitching it to investors. Versus a demo day is where a business is also on some platform discussing their business, but that's all they do. They talk about the company, the business, the people. They are void of talking about any of the financial metrics, i.e., they are not speaking directly to investors.
Got it. That's a good delineation. So who participates in these events in general?
In general, you have a cross-section of businesses, of entrepreneurs, of various resources that are participating in these. Mm-hmm. And even in my previous response to you, the big word to listen for is general solicitation. Are they soliciting for something? So the participation is going to be in pitch events. You're generally going to have investors. You'll have, whether it's angel investors, venture capital, or any combination, are going to be a good part of that event. Versus a demo day, you're not necessarily going to have the investor type.
Okay.
You're going to have more advisors. You may have people who enjoy working for young startup companies. So you're going to have people who are interested in hearing about other products and services and seeing how people are pitching, but you're not necessarily going to have investors as a part of demo days.
You know, this is interesting because, you know, there's perception and then there's reality. The general perception out there, there's a general sentiment that the return on investment on these elevators pitch events is something of the past. But tell that to companies like Siri,
That's exactly
who
right.
started
Yeah.
at an elevator pitch event and, of course, was later acquired by Apple. Can you
Exactly.
talk about the distinction between the perception and the reality of these elevator
Yeah.
pitch events?
So think about the same thoughts that many have of how hard it is to raise capital, and you can't find venture capital that's interested, or where are the investors and things of that nature. So those who are not entrenched in the process, who are not looking and searching, think that pitch days and demo days are a thing of the past. And the funny thing, when we say a thing of the past, in the past they were called dog and pony shows. Because
Yes.
mainly broker-dealers
Yes.
were the ones who were doing a lot of the pitching.
I've done a lot of dog and pony shows in my day. Yes.
But in today's way of raising capital, so much capital is raised online. So many individuals are going after the capital directly themselves. So these pitch days and demo days have become a bigger event than they used to be, not a smaller event. And they are very well, they are very well traveled. There are a lot of people looking at them and participating.
Wow, wow. In your introduction, there was a clear line of demarcation between the pitch event and the demo days. And that line of demarcation was the role of security regulation. But these are entrepreneurs. These are not attorneys. So whose role is it to keep these individuals in line from not violating the securities regulation?
So to answer that question, I first have to say any company has to understand what rules and regulations they need to be following.
Understood.
And so, number one, if they are doing an actual security regulation, they will know. They very well should know. But if they're not, they may not necessarily. But after saying that, understanding that it's all the company's responsibility, the event planner really should be setting those up appropriately from the beginning. They should be getting acknowledgments from folks. So if you're in a pitch event, the acknowledgments you're signing off on ahead of time is going to speak to that language. Versus if you're doing a demo day, the acknowledgments that you're signing off on ahead of time should also be saying what you need to ensure you're not speaking about at that particular event. So my opinion is that the event planner needs to be the one that's responsible to ensure that the platform is set right for anyone who's coming on to do a particular presentation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so good to know. Yeah. Because it's not just going back to that baseball metaphor, it's not just throwing the right pitch. You got to follow the rules.
Absolutely.
You got to follow the rules. So I know our listening audience are probably saying right about now, okay, where do I find out about these events? Can you comment on that?
Absolutely. And I do have folks chuckle at me as I always say, Missy Google. Missy Google knows everything.
Okay.
Okay.
All
So
right.
it really is just a matter of doing some research. You know where to go to figure out who's going to buy your product or service. Well, you need to know where to go to find out who's going to buy your securities or interest in your company. And doing a little bit of research, you will find just a plethora of different events, opportunities, platforms where a demo day or a pitch day is happening. The other reason you want to do your research, and do it early on, you might even want to schedule out, because they do cost, number one, and number two, most of them have some kind of qualifying factors to them. So you want to do your research to find out where they are. You might want to schedule this particular year. I know that I want to be a part of 2 demo days, because again, the cost can range anywhere from less than $100 up to $2,000-$3,000. It depends on who's putting the platform on. So do your research early, knowing that it can fit in your schedule and it can fit your budget.
Wow, that's good. This topic, and we'll get into more detail as later on in the show, but this topic we're discussing is so needful.
Yeah.
I don't see it as just for the investor. There are individuals that are skilled at what they do, but fail miserably in communicating what they do to the rest of their team. I'd like to pick up on that after a break.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
We are going to take a short station break, then return with Dr. Ray to continue unplugging how Pitch Perfect helps businesses pitch their stories perfectly and within compliance. Stay tuned, as you won't want to miss one word.
They say it takes a village. We focus on the truth about things that are happening in the DMV through the voices of the people who live, work, and play on Main Street. Tune in every week to discover how the community is coming together for the greater good of every resident.
Welcome back. You are watching Skills to Pay the Bills, and today's segment of Resources Unplugged. Our special co-host today is Dr. Ray Charles, founder and CEO of the KIP Group. Dr. Ray, you were asking as we were going out.
Yeah, as we were going out, I was just contemplating on this topic of this show, Pitch Perfect. It's essential for the context of the show of investors, but I see this concept of Pitch Perfect being so needful in the workplace in general. There are doctors, there are attorneys, they are skilled individuals that are skilled in their craft, but they are poor in communicating their pitch, if you will, to their team. When I think of, on a much grander scale, I think of the partnership between IBM and Apple, for example. Yes, everyone knows about this great partnership, but it all started with a pitch. Now, speaking about pitch, I know that you did pitch to Microsoft, and there's something in the works, and I can see the big smile on your face. Can you talk about that pitch? How perfect, no pun intended, it is for you to talk about your pitch on Pitch Perfect.
Right. So I'm going to lead into that.
Okay.
Because I totally agree with you. Understanding how to pitch, at the end of the day, when we're saying pitch, it just means that you develop the skills to be able to help someone else understand what it is that you're trying to do. You need to be able to convey the message to the particular audience at the particular time. And so, as you said, whether it's a professional, whether it's a company that is trying to raise capital, whether it is a young company that's trying to find human talent,
Yes.
you need to be able to speak to whoever that audience is in a manner that they can get what it is that you're looking for. And so to me, helping entrepreneurs just get past that place of feeling comfortable in pitching is really what Pitch Perfect is all about.
Okay.
Whether, as you state, whether they're trying to raise capital or whether they're just trying to get on a bigger stage to sell more of their products or services, they need to understand how to engage with the audience.
Absolutely.
And a lot of entrepreneurs who are starting businesses are doing it because they are experts in the discipline that they're doing. It doesn't mean that they're experts in, you think about someone who is an accountant or someone who services computers. They're used to working behind the scenes.
Sure.
All of a sudden, when they have to get an idea out, they got to speak to a bigger audience.
Yes.
So getting used to pitching.
Yeah.
So yes, my smile comes from I had an opportunity to pitch this idea of Pitch Perfect to Microsoft, and we are now discussing being able to, right now as a pilot program along the Eastern Coast, there's about 26 stores we're looking at. It could change up or down. But putting on a pitch event where entrepreneurs are able to go into a Microsoft location closest to them.
Okay.
Other small businesses will be attending to participate, but they will be able to pitch from a Microsoft location. It is brought in via Skype into our studio at Village Connector in Laurel.
Okay.
And we are live streaming it out to a national audience.
Wow.
So now all of a sudden, when iBoss is helping companies get comfortable in pitching in front of an audience, look at that audience that they now have an opportunity to pitch in front of.
Wow.
So collaboration, as you started that question with, is significant in this respect. And at the end of the day, Pitch Perfect starts really fitting its name by helping companies to pitch perfectly.
Wow.
I threw that one back at you.
Yeah, yeah. You know, we talked a lot about the what, and the key in a pitch being perfect is talking about the what, the how, and the why. I just want to talk about the why just for a moment. Why do you believe, Laurette, given the economy that we're in right now today, why do you believe the thought or the concept of Pitch Perfect / Demo Days is so timely and essential for now? Can you talk on that?
Absolutely. So again, today, which I call in the new capital market, so much money is raised online. And so learning how to engage in the tools that are necessary to be a part of that new economy is significant. And because I'm in that space, I review a lot of the studies that come out. And the studies are still pointing to, even with the economy getting better, it's still pointing to women and minority-owned businesses are still behind. They're behind in getting loans, but they're also behind in getting equity capital. And so as I thought of this process, what I wanted again to be able to do is create that platform where minority and women-owned businesses got an opportunity to practice pitching.
Got it.
Practice pitching in front of a wider audience, but now starting to do it where they're becoming better positioned to possibly get the interest of the equity investment capital that is out there. So just creating that stage that maybe some of those numbers and some of those reports can start adjusting because they are starting to reach into equity capital.
Wow, that's good. That's a huge why, because let's face it, this platform was not available 5 years ago.
Right.
To the small, emerging startup company.
That's right.
So let's go back to that three-legged stool of what, how, and why. Clearly, the average person cannot get on Shark Tank. Everyone can get on Shark Tank. So how can someone qualify? I'm hitting on the how right now. How can someone qualify to be a participant in Pitch Perfect / Demo Days?
So this stage is still designed to help companies move into that equity capital space, which means you really need to be a business that is positioned to be more of a high growth company as opposed to a lifestyle business.
All right.
The sheer nature that you're trying to learn how to interest investors means an investor is looking at companies that it makes sense for them to put their money in, which means they're going to get their money back and some return. And that's generally going to be more of your high growth businesses, again, not your lifestyle businesses. So in order for it to make sense for you to be on a show such as Pitch Perfect, then you need to qualify to come in, because we need to know that you fit the metrics that make sense for the audience. And there are two ways to qualify. First, there are the companies that have the information that they need, that know the area and just need a platform to say it from. Well, they will submit their business plan, executive summary, their pitch deck, and also a video of their presentation. Our committee will review it and make selections from those.
Got it.
But for those companies that also want to be on that stage, if they don't have those pieces or don't know, iBoss also runs a program called Capital Access Boulevard, where we help to train them. And part of the training on either side is there are two pitch events that we do prior to Pitch Perfect show that helps them to get that crafting together. We have a couple of professionals who will do the critiques to help them to sort of iron out some of the things that they're doing to then be able to get on more of a national audience to do their pitching.
So you mentioned the submission of the video. Is there a website? Is there a questionnaire that they can send that to?
So yes, at our same website, ibossinc.com. We have the ability for folks to take a look to see what type of participation they'd like to be in, and then submit so that they can get some additional information.
Got it. I saved the best for last. Here's my question. When is the first show, and how often it will be aired?
So Pitch Perfect will be a monthly event. We are looking to launch it April 23rd.
In the spring, that's a good time.
In the spring. And again, it's just a matter of getting all the coordinations correct, get enough of the companies, submitting so the committees could take a look to, see who gets to stand on stage with the first event. But now what I'm also interested in, other than live streaming, because of the studio we're shooting it from, it'll also wind up being on Roku. So they get some tremendous exposure.
What I love about how we're ending this show, we started the show with a metaphor of baseball, and we're ending by you sharing that your first show will be aired in the spring, during the spring season. Where you're working on your perfect pitch in the baseball season. So Lorette, I tell you, it was truly an honor, very educational, and I know our listening audience will have great value from this show.
No, I appreciate it. I enjoyed, you stepping in and doing this show with me, and I enjoyed bringing this out also.
It was totally a joy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ray.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Dr. Ray, it has been a pleasure to have you as co-host. And for those CEOs seeking a thought leader to help elevate their businesses to the next level, I highly recommend you contact Dr. Charles of the KIP Group, Keep Investing in People. I thank you for helping me explore the differences between pitch events and demo days for our Resources Unplugged audience. And I thank our audience for hearing today's message. I'm praying you use this information to your greatest advantage. Thank you again for watching Skills to Pay the Bills and today's segment of Resources Unplugged.